There's a lot of stuff up here. It needs to be cleaned off, I guess, after this one.
I don't think about it, but I'll do that. I'll remind myself to do that. Testing, testing. You're not even up yet?
Refreshing, and on the page it's not.
Showing the meeting?
It's not that easy.
That didn't do over it, did it? That special meeting? Separate. Okay, what's Scott's number at IT?
Oh, Brogan?
Yeah. Do you know it?
Yeah.
For the end of the week.
Yeah, you bet, you bet. It's a long.
Absolutely. Thank you. We'll have fun with it.
You haven't had to slap anybody around this morning, have you?
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Sitting in my chair.
Midget must sit in my chair. They like to be down below.
He's one of those old school types.
Husband's.
Okay. You all set for the mustache contest?
Yeah.
Pete wasn't even in the running. You weren't even in the running, Chase.
What's that?
For the mustache.
Are we ready, gentlemen? I didn't even take a picture.
Cat got it.
Good morning and welcome to our regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Supervisors, our final one for the calendar year. If you would please join me in and we'll be led in our flag salute this morning by Supervisor Cox, and remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you.
Ready? Salute.
Thank you. Please be seated. All right, we'll take up Board of Supervisor matters first. I'll turn to my colleague on the left, Supervisor Vanderpool.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Couple of things. All of the Christmas festivities, holiday parties, different things that have been going on have been wonderful, and sure appreciate all the organizations that are hosting them. It's great to have the community get together and celebrate. Several more of those this week, and I won't go into too many details because a lot of them have to do with committees and organizations that I sit on a board for, and I'll be able to celebrate with them, but they aren't necessarily public festivities. But there is a very exciting groundbreaking that's going to be taking place this week in early March at the White River Plaza. They're going to be having a groundbreaking for McDonald's at Avenue 56 and Highway 99, basically. And there are a lot of people with mixed opinions about McDonald's and should we be celebrating. But I tell you what, the residents in early March in the South County are sure going to be celebrating and are excited. And like I try to tell people, there are healthy options you can choose at McDonald's, so it's not all bad. But anyways, that groundbreaking will be taking place Wednesday at 11, and I have to give kudos to Resource Management Agency, Economic Development staff. I know they've been working really hard to make sure that something does get built there. Mike Washam was very disappointed when they fell out of escrow for the McDonald's project about a month ago, 2 months ago, and they were able to get it back into escrow, and they want to show their commitment by breaking ground before year end, and we're looking forward to bringing that project to the south part of the county. So more economic development, and will be a great sales tax generator. So that's all I've got. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Hope everyone has a happy holiday season too.
Thank you. Supervisor Cox?
Okay, last week attended a few events. If I say Police Department Volunteer Annual Holiday Party, I attended that last Thursday. This Saturday, attended the Deputy Sheriff's Association's function. That was very well attended there at the Ag Center in Tulare. Tomorrow is the Sheriff's Office PAL bike program. Looking forward to that. I want to really thank our sheriff and their PAL team stepping up and really helping out. I think probably well over 100 kids in our community. The job well done. Look forward to that. And Thursday evening, I'll be attending a retirement event for Lieutenant Jeff McIntosh for the Visalia Police Department. Like Supervisor Vanderpool, there's probably another 8 or 10 things between now and Christmas that I'll be attending, but a lot of them are on a private basis. So with that, Merry Christmas to everyone, and looking forward to a wonderful new year.
Thank you. Supervisor Rashida?
Last Wednesday, I attended the RCRC meeting in Sacramento, and probably the most important item that came up in my mind was that CARB has recently done a study. It's called the Short-Lived Climate Pollution Reduction Strategy. And in that study, it showed that 66% of all black carbon come from forest fires. Not only black carbon, you have greenhouse gases coming from forest fires. But in the report on a plan of how to address these different climate issues, they didn't address forest fires. So it was quite a big disappointment to those of us on RCRC, and probably for all of us, that the biggest polluter that we have in the state of California are forest fires. And the state of California has not put together a plan. How do we prevent these forest fires, or how do we go back through these forests that have been burnt and take care of the logs and the trees that have been damaged, because they continue to give off carbon dioxide as they deteriorate. I think what we're really looking for is biomass facilities to take care of a lot of the wood that's been burnt, and also forest thinning for watershed improvement. And at this point in time, because of the price of electricity that comes off biomass plants is substantially higher, surprisingly, at this point in time, than solar and wind. So biomass generated energy is not very competitive with the other sources of energy. We face that problem in the valley here. Is our last biomass plant within a reasonable location of Tulare County is in Delano, and they stopped taking biomass as of December 1. And probably by the end of this month, they're out of business. And that's purely because of the cost it takes to produce energy from a biomass plant. And they're no longer subsidized. What that means is the drought, as you well know, if you drive on the east side of Tulare County, we have all these orange orchards that have been pushed out. So the result is we're stacking them, and we're going to burn them. We don't have any other alternative but to burn them. On Thursday, I attended the Sierra Nevada Conservancy meeting in Sonora, and we approved 5 grants for watershed restoration. Of the 5 grants, we had 1 grant that was approved for stream repair from excessive erosion, and that amounted to $853,000. Now, we have $25 million from Prop 1 to spend for forest restoration, and our district down here, which is Kern, Tulare, Fresno, and Madera County, we didn't have any applications that got approved. So I want to get the word out there that we need to put some applications in to secure some of these funds. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Supervisor Sheehan. Supervisor Ennis?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tomorrow afternoon, I'll be attending a open house at Terabella School, the old school where I went out there. It's always a fun deal to see the people and the teachers and everybody just before the holidays. On Thursday, I'll be cooking at the Ag Luncheon in Porterville. It's my turn in the barrel, so I'll be doing that on Thursday. Wednesday night, I've got our local Rotary Club's Rotary Party. Friday night, I've got the Porterville Fair Christmas party. And hearing from my old buddy Carl Kaplan up at the Ponderosa, we've got a foot of snow up there. And even with the rain that we've got that's come through and rained on it, we've got a foot of snow at the Ponderosa. So that's a lot more than we had last year at this time. And the Deer Creek Bridge on Road 224 is moving forward, and looks like if they keep on the pace they're going, they'll be able to get up out of the water in case we do have some big runoff in January through March. Hopefully they'll be able to continue that project and get it done. So we're looking forward to this, as I call it. You call it El Nino. I call it El Menudo. We need a lot more in that mix than just an El Nino this year. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Ennis. Last Saturday, New London had its annual Christmas parade, and they've had a number of them, but this is the first time it's actually been held on a Saturday. It's a beautiful day and well attended. I would like to say we have sort of a bittersweet announcement here today. Our county public information officer, Melissa Withnall, will be moving on to a different position outside of Tulare County government. She'll be in Visalia starting in January, and we want to wish her well. And let's give Melissa, please raise your hand, and let's give her applause. When we hired Melissa, we gave her the responsibility of being the county's public information officer as a way of keeping her busy as a board representative. And when I met with her and talked to her yesterday, she indicated that because of the drought primarily, the PIO responsibilities take up about 90% of her time. But it's not always been that Tulare County has been, of interest to people in Europe and Japan and international interest that directed to Tulare County because of our drought. And to that end, Supervisor Rashid, I appreciate your comments about your meeting at RCRC and the situation with forest fires. I just heard that the latest report is that there are an estimated 29 million dead trees in California, and so that situation is ripe, obviously, for additional wildfires of huge magnitude. And you're right about the black carbon. When we look at serious air quality impacts that affect human health in a very direct way, carbon-based PM10, PM2.5 is at the top of the list. And so we need to understand, we're trying to clean up the air for health purposes, and yet this one area which has the most impact on our public health seems to get sort of second shrift, and we need to figure out some way to move that up the chain. I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. This will be our last meeting again, as I mentioned before, of calendar year 2015. It's hard to believe this year has come and gone so quickly. At next meeting in January, we will be electing our new officers for the board, and it's been a pleasure to serve in this capacity. It's hard for me to believe the year's already gone. It seems like it's gone so quickly. At this time, we're going to do the presentation and announcement of the 2015 Movember Mustache Contest winners. And I believe that, yes, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Worthley and members of the board, CAO and County Council. I'm Rhonda Schustrom, Human Resources Director. This morning is our second year that we're coming to you with results from our Movember Mustache Challenge contest. And our staff from Human Resources will be presenting information on the contestants and the winners today. And that will include Lupe Garza, our Benefit and Wellness Manager, as well as Kelly Barker, our HR Analyst, and Myra Castor, who is a Benefit Specialist, is also here today. And we will be coming back to you in January with information on our 2-year pilot program for our wellness efforts. This is our last event for the year, and we are tabulating, actually the last event for the first 2 years, tabulating our data and information to bring back to you results and report back on the pilot program that your board approved for Tulare County. Today we're also starting a tradition that you'll see that participants will be receiving a stash sash that we hope to provide annually as part of our mustache contest so that they can keep their stashes warm in the winter. We have a lot of snow up on our peaks, and if any of our employees go up and enjoy that snow, we want them to keep nice and cozy. So I'll turn it over to Lupe Garza for the presentation.
Thank you. Good morning, Lupe.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. So I would like to start by saying thank you to you for the support that you have given us and our wellness efforts and in bringing this wellness program to Tulare County employees. As you know, the health topic for the month of November was Men's Health Cancer Awareness. The goal of this topic was to help raise awareness of the many health risks that men face, such as prostate cancer, testicular cancer, and mental health. To help support this topic, we offered wellness activities throughout the month of November. The activities included educational information from the Centers for Disease Control and the risk factors of prostate cancer, the symptoms of prostate cancer, PSA screenings, and self-examination, and from Kaiser on the routine health maintenance for men. Anthem EAP offered a webinar titled Stick With It, which provided useful strategies for creating positive change. The other activity was the Movember Challenge, which is why we are here today. Movember Challenge was started to create conversations about men's health. Men were asked to start with a clean-shaven face on November 1st. They were then asked to grow a mustache during the month of November and take a before and after picture and submit to our department. Women also played a supporting role by encouraging the men in their life to take action when it comes to their health. As Ms. Schuster mentioned, there were 14 participants, 16 total, but 2 were not part of the voting process. So I would like to start by asking the participants to come up to the front as I call their name. And I would also like to ask the chairman to join me up here for the presentation. Okay, so the first participant was Edgar Benitez, who's IT specialist, support with the IT department. Johnny Godinez, who is with the who is a Ag and Standards Inspector with the Ag Commissioners Department.
Does this count since he already shaved it off?
Michael Wallace, Probation Officer 3 with probation.
Those are all clean shaven.
Tim Kokendorfer, Chief Appraiser with the Assessor's Office. Aaron Corey, he's an attorney with the DA's office. David Ewell, also he's a Sheriff's Correctional Deputy with Sheriff's Department. Eric Martin, Employee Relations Specialist 2 with our Department of Human Resources. Edward Frankovic, IT Project Manager 2 with IT. Humberto Santoyo, he's a Sheriff's Correctional Deputy with Porterville Sheriff's Department. Daniel Underwood, Assistant District Attorney with DA's Office. Richard Bratcher, he's Road Superintendent, RMA Terabella Road Yard. Jose Reese Salas, he is Administrative Specialist 1 with HHSA Health Services. He was also our 2014 first place winner. Lauren Lecampagne, Employee Relations Officer with Human Resources and Development. And Robert Seitz, he's Appraiser 1 with the Assessor's Office. We also have Pete Vanderpool, Board of Supervisor. Unfortunately, we don't have an after picture of him.
There never was one. That's funny. The cat got in the house again.
And support from the fire communications staff on supporting the men's health awareness program. And your board reviewed the pictures and voted on the two best mustaches grown in November. Everyone did a great job. Unfortunately, we can only select 2 winners. And the second place winner is receiving a coffee mug, a mustache coffee mug, along with a Fitbit donated by Anthem Blue Cross. And second place winner is Tim Kokendorfer from the Assessor's Office. First place winner is also receiving a mustache coffee mug and a $50 gift card donated by Sterling and Company, who is one of our benefit providers. And first place winner is Johnny Godinez from the Ag Commissioner's Office.
It's all crammed together. We got to shoulder to shoulder. Do they get discounts for no hair on the top of their heads? Good. All right.
And all the participants will receive also a small gift for appreciation. Thank you.
Yeah. Good. Sorry, Pete, no cigars.
That's good.
Thank you. I didn't say that. I do have a picture that does have.
Well, I got one right here that I drawed up for you.
I thought that was for the ugly scarf contest.
I think Supervisor Ennis said that that's the reason Supervisor Vanderpool didn't complete it was the cat came in and rubbed and actually licked his off one night, so he couldn't quite finish. But thank you all for participating in this event, and a lot of fun, and of course represents a serious issue of public health, and so calling awareness to that is very important. So thank you, Rhonda, for your team and the good work done, and maybe next year Pete will be able to finish up and conclude it. All right, at this time we'll take up our public comments. Anyone wishing to address the board this morning on matters that are within our jurisdiction but not on today's agenda are invited to come forward this time. Please give us your name and address, and you'll be given 3 minutes. Is there anyone here to speak during public comment? Roland, you don't want to say anything?
I took offense to your comment about
Okay. Merry Christmas.
Maybe you can convert it. Convert it.
Let me ask him a question. Anybody else? Okay, we will close the public comment, bring it back to the board then for our consent calendar, items 5 through 40. Does anybody on the board
wish to pull? Or
I do. I just want to make a comment on item 28. I'm really glad to see that is the contract with one of our benefits managers, Gallagher Benefit Services. Given they are the consultant for the San Joaquin Valley Insurance Authority, as well as for each Fresno County and Tulare County, I'm glad to see that we are going out to an RFP to make sure that we're avoiding conflicts of interest and that we're going to be having the best consultant that we can in that subject area. So glad that's coming back July 1. I just want to make that comment.
Anyone else on the board? Anyone in the public wish to speak to any matter on a consent calendar? All right.
Motion to approve consent calendar.
Motion by Supervisor Cox, seconded by Supervisor Innes. Please cast your votes. Votes are unanimous. And we will take up our first untimed item, item 41, a presentation to approve the extension of the Arts Consortium's designation as the official Arts Council of Tulare County. Morning.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. I'm Carolyn Kuntz, Executive Director of the Arts Consortium, and I am pleased to present our annual report. I would like to acknowledge that we have several members of the arts community joining us. Sure, right here in the front 2 rows. And the Arts Consortium is the local arts agency for Tulare County, contracted by the city, designated by the Board of Supervisors, and we are also the local partner of the California Arts Council. We connect arts, culture, and community, but our role goes beyond that. We leverage local resources to help people have the opportunity to be creative. We offer space for the arts community to meet and learn from each other, and we promote programming all over the county, and we plan events. This year, we gave ourselves a makeover. We knew there was a demand for flexible space, so we launched an Indiegogo campaign, which brought in $8,000. We enlisted a ton of volunteers, and we rehabbed our facility. It's gotten a lot of use as rehearsal space, meeting space, and gallery space. It also functions better for our My Voice Media Center. My Voice Media Center is a special project we have partnering with Tulare County Health and Human Services Agency. It's funded by Proposition 63, and it helps people who have lived experience with mental health tell their stories through the arts about wellness and recovery. We have a quote here from one of our students that said, "I find that at the My Voice Media Center, I feel safe in expressing myself through art. It's helped me stay in a happier and more relaxed mood," and we're really happy that this program continues growing. Something the Arts Consortium is also very proud of is all of our special projects. By serving as a fiscal sponsor, we're able to offer administrative support to creative startups. This year, we added the Spanspec Music Art and Festival. It's an annual event in Cutler Rossi designed to encourage youth in that area to celebrate their artistic endeavors. We also umbrellaed in the Theater Arts Alliance and the TCOE Theater Boosters. 2 of our more established special projects made a large impact in the rural part of the county. The Visalia Opera Company presented a mariachi opera in Pixley, and the Urbanist Collective embarked on a mural project in Ivanhoe, Pixley, Early Mart, and Allensworth. We also took artists in schools at Liberty Elementary this year. We brought in 2 artists who connected the arts with social science and science curriculum. And we're looking forward to our annual South Valley Artist Studio Tour in March. This event is really growing. It celebrates the arts all over the county. It gives the public an inside look at what an artist really does. And we're excited because it has potential for us to have another funding source. last year we had 40 artists participate, and we sold 200 tickets, and that's how we raised money. And then the artists sold their work, and they sold more than $10,000 in art sales. So this is good. Our other major event is Taste the Arts. This year we really focused on increasing the participation, and by partnering with groups like Pro Youth Heart and the Visalia Farmers Market, we saw a lot of people engaging and making art for themselves. And I just want to go over the Taste the Arts by the numbers. It's a free event. We only charged the artists $10, and we use that to buy them lunch for the day. We had 250 performers on the stage. Most of them are students from all over the county. We had 356 donated volunteer hours. We estimate that 4,000 people attended. We printed 8,000 art and culture magazines, and these were printed in kind by Jostens. We made $10,000 in art sales. We had $12,000 in in-kind donations, $17,000 of cash sponsors to support this event and keep it free, and we're bringing it back next October. So, we're proud of the work we have done, and we have a lot of momentum that we've built. We realize there's a lot more to do, but that requires funding. We are really diligent in seeking diverse revenue sources, but the stark reality is that grant funding for the arts in the Central Valley is limited. So we are continuing to look for additional income sources. We're also proud of the way we've been able to leverage volunteers and in-kind donations, and we kind of are pretty good at matching funds 10 times over. So thank you for your time, thank you for your designation, and thank you for showing up at our events. We notice and we appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from board members?
I have a comment.
Yes, Supervisor Sheeta.
I applaud your organization, how far you've come over the last several years. It's amazing. Basically, we didn't have anything. And when you guys took it over, slowly but surely, you brought it to the point that I'm amazed at your success. And I want to thank you for all your hard work and what you've been able to accomplish.
Supervisor?
I just want to thank you, Caroline. I think it's outstanding that the Arts Consortium's really taken what you've done and really taken it beyond Visalia. I know that Visalia is one of your main contracting entities, and they give you a lot of the support, and that's where probably a good chunk of your volunteers come from. But as you mentioned, Allensworth and Early Mart and Pixley, you're really taking the arts beyond just the city of Visalia. And you mentioned the difficulty in obtaining grant funding in the Central Valley. Well, think of art in the unincorporated areas of the county as being a very difficult thing as well. And you really have taken it beyond the city of Visalia, where I would say in Tulare County, art is at a center, and it's really placed on a high pedestal. Bringing it to those areas that don't have the opportunities to experience art is one of the best things I think your organization can do, and you're doing a great job of that. So I know that I had issues several years ago when we first designated you as the Arts Council for the county, but I'm very proud to continue that designation and see your organization grow and expand further in the county. So thank you for what you do.
Supervisor Cox.
Yeah, just quickly, attending several of the events that you put on each year, I am amazed at what you're able to do with the small amount of funding you have. I want to thank our Health and Human Service Agency for being a large part of that support. The Step Up program was quite a large support for the Taste the Arts event as well. So you guys have come a long ways in a very short time, and I know a lot of the people involved, and I know you have plans for the future and to continue growing this. So I look forward to the future growth of the program, and thank you for being, good stewards of the funding that you receive.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if there's no further comments by board members or anybody in the public, I would gladly move for the approval of this item and designation of the Arts Consortium.
Motion by Supervisor Manifold, second by Vice Supervisor Cox. Please cast your votes. And the votes are unanimous.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for being here this morning. Thank you for your attendance here today. Thank you very much. All right, we will now take up our timed item, which is a request from the fire department to confirm the accounting as modified for the fire hazard abatement cost recovery program. Thank you, sir. Have a good day. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Cindy Allen, and I'm a fire inspector for Tulare County Fire. TCFD is requesting the board to order the costs associated with the abatement of fire hazards to be recorded in the office of the county recorder as a lien. The contractor's costs plus administrative fees come to a total of $19,562.78 for the cleanup of 11 parcels throughout Tulare County. We request that the county auditor place such cost on the county tax roll as a special assessment. Last, we request the board to adopt the attached resolution with Exhibit A parcel analysis. Contractor's cost is $15,734.78. Administrative fees is $3,828. It needs to be noted that case number 1527016, APN 299-014-032 was paid in full by the property owner, and also case number 1527023, APN 295-170-017 was also paid by the property owner in full. Adjustments have been made to the contractor's cost plus administrative fees total. Also, cleanup of parcels has been adjusted. Do you have any questions for me this morning?
Are there any questions by board members?
Mr. One quick one. In many years as we've been doing this, I know you won't have the information now. I'd like to have a report in the next month or so about who's actually paid these liens over the last 5 years. We do this every year, Cindy. I appreciate all the hard work it takes for you to do this. It's inspection, noticing, then doing the work, and then noticing and sending bills. There's a lot of work that goes behind this, and I really appreciate that. But I would like to get some type of a report back as to if these are being paid off when the property taxes are paid.
Absolutely.
Other than that, great job.
Thank you.
Anybody else? This is a public hearing. I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to address this board on this matter, please come forward this time. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for action. And again, the motion would be to approve as amended, reflecting the changes that were given to us this morning.
So moved.
I will.
Second?
Second.
Okay. I was just going to make a comment.
Yes.
It's a shame that people don't have the pride to take care of their own properties. And I'm a real stickler on code enforcement, whether it be fire or whether people just leaving garbage all over their yard. So good job. Thank you.
So the motion is by Supervisor Cox, seconded by Supervisor Ennis. Please cast your votes. Votes are unanimous. And I will turn back to our untimed items. Item number 42. This is a request from the Sheriff's Office to approve the personnel resolution to increase the position allocation by adding one fingerprint technician. Authorize the necessary budget adjustments. Morning, Captain.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. CAO, Ms. Bales-Lang. On behalf of Sheriff Mike Boudreau, I would like to thank you to come before you today to talk about this. My name is Keith Douglas. I'm a captain with the Sheriff's Office. The Cal ID program, where our fingerprints are currently located, was formed in the 90s. But since that time, we have never expanded the personnel, only the technology to be able to do this. Back in those days, we used to hand trace fingerprints for comparisons. Supervisor Worthley sits on that the RAND board committee with me as well. We come before you today that we receive funding through vehicle licensing fee. So this position allocation, there is no net county cost involved with it, and therefore it isn't necessary. We are continuing to identify fingerprints. We still use technology to our advantage, but it still takes that human eye to discern those minute differences. Any questions?
I was just going to make a comment that this is a very valuable resource, not just to our county, but to our sister agencies, to other police departments, and I believe we also work with Kings County and assisting them and other county, our surrounding counties. So it's a great program and has tremendous benefits in law enforcement. So, any other comments or questions by anyone? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Motion by Supervisor Ennis.
I'll second
Second
that.
by Supervisor Vanderpool. Please cast your votes. Votes are unanimous. Thanks, Keith. Next item is also from the Sheriff's Department to approve the following 3 agreements. Taser International, Inc. Professional Services Agreement, Taser International, Inc. Evidence.com Master Service Agreement, and Taser International, Inc. Addendum 1 Integration Services Statement of Work for related software and services.
It's
Welcome
not
back.
a taser, is it? I got to be real careful with this thing.
Taser is only the brand, Supervisor.
Oh.
What the clerk has passed out to you, and again, I'm sorry, my name is Keith Douglas, representing Sheriff Mike Boudreau. This is an exciting time for us. Sheriff Boudreau's vision is to be the best law enforcement agency in the state of California. We have been researching body cams, body-worn cameras, personal recording devices, whatever nomenclature you want to put on it. The items that are being passed around now, right now, is the item that we have selected after extensive testing. It's made by Taser International. It's called an Axum, and it's called a Flex. Flex is because, as you can see coming around, it has a variety of different mountings. The one that's coming around is actually set up to go on the head or a brim. It's what we call a point of view. And as you see with the little iPhone, thank you, sorry, you can actually see in real-time display of what it is as it's coming around. This is not without cost, though. Over the term of this 5-year contract, it's $1.5 million. First year cost is $520,000, and then $256,000 and change every year after that. One of the reasons why this cost is because we are using Taser's Evidence.com cloud-based system. Therefore, it's not requiring any hardware, software, or personnel for us to manage the actual video uploads. Several agencies, numerous agencies throughout the country are using Taser. It's a proven platform. Several agencies in the county are currently using it. We have met with the DSA. When we tried this, they're excited about it. This device is not to prove that we're doing it wrong, but to prove we're doing it right. So as it comes around, you can see, again, it's got many different venues that it can be worn on. It can be worn on a lapel, hat, glasses. What's very unique about it versus other brands is if I'm speaking to you, something happens over here, if I look, the camera's going to see, not only hear what I'm seeing. Be happy to entertain any questions that you might have.
Questions or comments?
No, I just think it's a great resource, and you know, it makes everything very clear of what goes on at a scene, whether it be an officer stopping a vehicle or whatever. I think it's just a good record to have in case you go to defense or anything.
I was just going to have Kathleen pass you back the phone, and then I want to give you feedback of what you look like when you're talking to us. So that way you can keep it if you'd like. No, I think this is wonderful technology, and I'm really glad. I know that it comes at a cost, but I'm really glad that you did the due diligence and research necessary. I'm sure there's many firms out there or many companies that offer this technology, and I'm glad that you were able to select the one that you feel is the best and allows you to do the operations most efficiently and also probably with the lowest cost as well. I'm sure that was a part of the evaluation too.
Pleasure, Cox.
A couple real quick questions. Patrol officers as well as sergeants are going to be wearing these?
Patrol, all of patrol will be wearing them, along with our tactical detectives, so gang unit and step. So predominantly anyone who's in a uniform that's on the street.
And sound? Is this
Audio and video, sir.
Okay.
And it's all contained in this device, which is worn on the belt. This is actually the DVR. So it's very compact. It's a single button click to turn it on. And actually, staff is the one who recommended this.
Mr. Chairman, what about storage? I know one of the concerns with these early on was storing the information.
One of the reasons why the cost is because we have unlimited storage through Evidence.com, and we expect to be using it.
My only comment is that I appreciate the work of the department and the necessity of this. I'm just sorry that we have come to this place of necessity in the sense that I think in many cases the public is not aware, but depending upon who you're dealing with in terms of a suspect. Sometimes these things are not necessarily very pretty. I understand that. I mean, it's a reality. And I think for some people, they'll be shocked to see, oh my goodness, that took that much. But I mean, it's necessary because we have to resist force with force. But it is the time that we live in, and we need to be doing this. But as you say, this is going to verify what we're doing right. It'll give the whole story as opposed to somebody who might take a shot with their camera and cut out what happened before or after or in the middle kind of a thing. And so it'll give the whole story, and it's quite necessary. But I'm just sort of sorry that we've come to that place in our society. But I certainly appreciate what the work that's done and support it.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything from the public? Entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Motion by Supervisor Ennis, seconded by Supervisor Cox. Please cast your votes, and the votes are unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we come to item number 44. Receive a report from the Resource Management Agency regarding the Success Reservoir Enlargement Project. Good morning, Mr. Reese.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Spada, Ms. Bales-Lang. Ben Reese, Assistant Director of Public Works. The item before you today is the Success Reservoir Enlargement Project. I just have one slide for you here today that shows the location of the project. Basically, it's at Lake Success, a few miles east of the city of Porterville. So this project was authorized back in 1999 through the Water Resources Development Act. The objectives of the project were to raise the spillway of the dam by approximately 10 feet to increase the capacity of the reservoir. Currently, the reservoir affords flood protection to the downstream areas, including the city of Porterville, for a 47-year event. Through this project, the capacity will be increased such that it'll afford protection for the 100-year storm event. In 2003, Tulare County Flood Control District entered into an agreement with other agencies, including the Lower Tule River Irrigation District, the Tulare Lake Basin Water Storage District, the County of Kings, and the City of Porterville, basically to lead this project. In 2005, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers was concerned about the seismic stability of the dam, so this project's pretty much been on hold for approximately 10 years, while the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers did a seismic analysis of the project. They now feel that there is no longer a seismic safety risk, and that the dam is adequate, at least from for an earthquake. So what we're asking today is for the board to affirm the agreement that was approved back in 2003. The costs of the project have increased. The original estimate was approximately $22 million for construction of the project. It is now estimated to be about a $40 million project. The county's contribution originally was approximately $760,000. It is now estimated to be approximately $920,000. Additionally, since the project's been on hold for approximately 10 years, the lead agencies for this project are requesting that not only Tulare County, but the other agencies as well affirm their commitment to this project since the costs have gone up. They estimate it'll take about a year to 2 years to basically kickstart the project, revisit the environmental document, re-engage the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Department of Water Resources. So basically the requested action is to affirm the agreement that was approved in 2003. Available to answer any questions.
Questions? Supervisor Ennis?
I don't have any questions. I just have a few comments. I mean, this has been a long fight. This board went to Washington, D.C. every year since I've been on here and fought to bring this dam back to its capacity, to its 82.5 or whatever it is. The city of Porterville backed out of this agreement 2 or 3 years ago and haven't paid a dime. Who's the biggest benefit for this? The city of Porterville and flood control. So I encourage them to get back involved in this very much. I see this thing going forward. I think that we're going to get a better DSAC rating on it. And if it does go forward, it's going to be a big benefit not only to the city of Porterville, but to all of us, because we need all the storage we can get for water in the state. So good job, you guys. Thank you.
Amazing what 10 feet does, going from a 47-year event, I think you said, to a 100-year event. It's amazing the difference that
Well, in
makes.
'66, it went over the spillway, so filled up in 36 hours. So you can see the runoff that's there.
Supervisor.
Yeah, I would just make the comment. You know, it's a real shame. I think that the original cost of this project, $22 million, and now it's up to $40 million. Just crazy to me, and I'm really glad to hear that the Army Corps of Engineers is going to pick up that $18 million increase because of their 10-year study. It's just it's too bad, and we've missed out on some opportunities to store water during some significant rain events in recent history, and we really could have used that water to help us get through drought situations. But, you know, this is one of the very few instances where we can actually have some control or contribute to our own water destiny in Tulare County. And so I'm fully supportive of reaffirming our commitment to this project. And I think that combined with a lot of our different flood control efforts in the county, we're going to continue to do the best that we can with our own local control over water.
Anyone from the public wish to address this matter?
One real quick. You know, in the agenda item, you mentioned this is a set aside. Do we have an escrow, or is this just a line item in our annual budget for that flood control district?
It's part of our flood control budget. Yes.
Okay, right. And I know
we do have a set aside.
We have plenty of funding there.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
I entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Anybody want to talk from the public?
I asked. Nobody responded. Motion by Supervisor Ennis, seconded by Supervisor Vanderpool. Don't go away, Ben. Please cast your votes. Thank you. Votes unanimous. I know I should have asked the best in advance, but can you give us any kind of an update on what's going on from a flood control standpoint? Otherwise, we've got some projects in the North County, and we've had some channel clearing, and I should have given you an advance warning, but I thought maybe if you could give us a little bit of an update where we are as we approach.
Yeah, as you know, we've done some, been proactive in clearing some channels from debris. We've been kind of monitoring the areas where we know that there's been issues in the past in terms of flooding. We haven't had any significant storm events that have caused any issues, but we're definitely being proactive, making sure that we stay on top of things. We've got a couple of flood control projects that are designed and shelf ready. One of them, we think we'll have our right-of-way in place here in the next couple of weeks so that we can go into construction in the next available window. The JDF project, of course, that one's also shelf-ready. We're exploring some additional grant opportunities so that we can get that one in the ground as well.
Yes, Supervisor.
Mr. Chairman, could the agency also update us on the success with which you obtained the necessary biological permits so that we have clearance to go in there and do the work that's necessary?
Yes, so we have good contacts with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. Some of the work that we did required us to basically be just, boots and shovels, doing some hand work. We were able to enter into an agreement with California Department of Fish and Wildlife so that we could do more extensive work as required, which may involve, moving some sediment, clearing some trees. And so we were successful in getting that agreement in place last month. So we've been making use of that to further our, preparedness.
Thank you. I apologize for giving you a little advance warning on that, but thanks so much. Okay, take up then our item 45, which is a request from Resource Management Agency to approve the Transit Action Plan for 2015-16. Mr. Reese,
yes. Good morning, Chairman, Board of Supervisors, Mr. Spotted, Ms. Bales-Lang. Ben Reese again, Resource Management Agency. The item before you today is we're going to give you a presentation on our Tulare County Area Transit System. Just an overview of our presentation. I'll talk about our strategic management system, which we've implemented at the Resource Management Agency, a general introduction into our transit system, talk about some recent system improvements to improve ridership. Our fiscal manager, Ms. Sofia Almanza, will talk about how the system is funded and our spending plan for this fiscal year and the 2 fiscal years beyond. Mr. Reed Schenke, our chief engineer, will talk about our transit development plan, which was prepared in coordination with TCAG. This is the one item on the agenda today that we're requesting approval on. We've also performed a fares analysis, taking a look at what our current fare structure is and comparing that to what our fare box reimbursement ratio will be, and if there may be a need to adjust those fares. So we'll talk about that. One of our high priority projects is the Transit Operations and Maintenance Facility. We'll provide an update on that project, and we'll talk about some of our plan system improvements and future initiatives. And then we'll summarize and be available for questions as well. Our strategic management system has been implemented at the Resource Management Agency. It's basically our system for being responsive to the board, delivering projects and programs in a timely manner with a high degree of quality. How do we do that? We form cross-functional teams for our transit plan. We worked hand in hand with our CAO, where he provided input and direction. Some of the key components is being forward-thinking, being proactive as opposed to being reactive, having a vision for what we want the transit system to be, putting together a plan like we've done here, and then implementing it. So how do we do that? It's really through our values, a team-based approach, putting together teams where we collaborate and coordinate and make use of the expertise that's within the Resource Management Agency and within the county as well, some of the other agencies. Putting together goals with the idea of performing, basically. Getting projects in the ground, improving our transit system. So how have we done that? What we'll try to show today is some of the performance and results in regards to our transit system. We'll talk about some of our completed projects in process, some of the ridership enhancements that we have planned for this fiscal year, our transit operations and maintenance facility, some of the route expansions that have been available through Measure R in the past and what we're thinking about in the future. And then we'll talk about how we strategically plan to use our funding for the transit system. Just some general information. Currently, we have 9 fixed routes throughout Tulare County. 4 of them are categorized as intracity systems. 5 of them are rural systems. We also offer a dial-a-ride service whereby users that don't have our fixed route system available to them may call ahead of time if they plan accordingly so that our transit system can pick them up basically at their front yard and take them to their destination. We also offer route deviation, similar type of program where if a user calls in advance, our fixed route systems can deviate from the routes up to 3/4 of a mile to pick somebody up. We have our loop bus system, which is made available through Measure R, which focuses on at-risk youth and provides a service to them. And we also offer a service through the Orange Belt stages. So if we have folks within Tulare County that use the Orange Belt system and they stay entirely within Tulare County, they pay the rates that are available through our TCAT system, which are reduced rates. The more general information, we have approximately 375,000 riders annually. A lot of our users are really what we refer to them as transit reliant. They may not have available to them other sources of transportation, so they really come to depend on our transit system. We also offer a program through COS where the students can use our system at reduced rates, and of course the Loop Bus program. Our system currently operates about 1 million revenue miles annually. We have approximately 160 stops county-wide. Most of our fleet, I think by the end of this fiscal year, our fleet will be entirely fueled by compressed natural gas, so we'll have a 100% CNG bus fleet. As far as our operations, currently we lease some space from the city of Visalia. MB Transportation is our contract operator, so they maintain our buses, they operate our buses, they schedule the dial-a-rides. And like I mentioned, we'll talk about our transit facility, which we're currently in design of, but currently we lease some space from the city of Visalia. Some of our recent system improvements, really Measure R has been instrumental with our transit system. Through Measure R, we've really been able to expand our service. Prior to Measure R, Our fixed routes, we're operating 3 round trips daily. Through Measure R, we've been able to increase that up to 18 round trips per day on our fixed route system. Some of our local systems were operating Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Now they're able to operate every weekday. We've also been able to expand our system into the weekdays and to provide nighttime service. Some of our improvements are, see an example there of some of our bus shelters and bus pads that we've installed, ADA compliant to improve the service to our customers. We've also kind of over the years been upgrading our fleet or replacing our fleet, like I mentioned before. By the end of this fiscal year, we'll have a 100% fleet powered by CNG. We've purchased 6 buses in the last 3 years. I'll now turn it over to Sophia to talk about our funding sources.
Good morning, Supervisors, Mr. Spada, County Council. Sophia Almanza, Resource Management Agency Fiscal Manager. First and foremost, I'd like to point out this is a very detailed slide. It represents various transit funding available. In essence, there is a menu of diverse funding sources available. It should be noted that this menu is included in your agenda. It is attachment B, and it's titled the Transit Funding Matrix. There are 14 categories listed on this slide. However, in the next 2 slides, we will drill down on this various funding. So I will go to the next slide. Funding sources. The purpose of this slide is to identify the funding sources, the available uses, and the typical amount received. So for our TDA funds available, which is Transportation Development Act funds, which are state-related, we have LTF funds, local transportation funds. Local transportation funds can be used for transit and road purposes. We approximately receive about $5 million annually of these LTF funds. $3 million is budgeted this fiscal year for transit. The remaining $2 million would go to the road fund. We also receive in the transit fund STA funds. These funds are specific for transit purposes only. We're estimated receiving about $500,000 this year for STA funds. We also had to us available was PTMI SEA funding, which is Prop 1B funding. Unfortunately, this program has ended, but fortunately, we were able to utilize and set aside $5 million of PTMI SEA funding specifically dedicated for our TOM project, our Transit Operation Maintenance Facility project. And another benefit about Prop 1B is it's interest bearing. So we've actually received the funds and we get to earn interest on that. Next we have our LC Top money. LC Top money is state money, which is we receive approximately $100,000. We can use this for transit operational cost, and we can also use it to subsidize ridership passes. And we're all familiar with our Measure R funds. Our local Measure R funds we receive annually for the transit fund of $525,000. The Measure R funds greatly help the LOOP program, and is solely funded by the LOOP program. Our farebox revenue generates about $400,000 a year, and we also receive, in addition to these other fundings I've mentioned, on an annual basis, we receive, I call it 5311 funding. It's FTA money, and FTA money can be used for transit operational purposes, and it's about $220,000 that we request every year. So this next slide is still talking about funding sources, but these is more specific to project-specific funding sources. So the first funding source available would be CalOES, which is state funding available for security upgrades and emergency preparedness projects. We also have available to us FHWA, I have to say it slow, and CMAQ funding and RSTP funding. CMAQ funding, we have currently $1.5 million programmed for our TOM project, and this funding is specific to constructing the CNG facility. We also have available to us RSTP funding, which is Regional Surface Transportation Program funds. And this funds is specific to federal highway uses, but we can use it for operational improvements if we find it tied to a transit purpose. We also have available to us additional 5311 funding. This funding is a little bit different than the operational purpose funding. This is actual project capital improvement specific. So we could use this to purchase buses. And now we move on to the spending plan. So the spending plan here, what I have presented for you right now is a simplified version of the spending plan than what was in your attachment and provided for your agenda. This slide represents the total revenue and the total expenditures for our transit fund, where the first column would be the fiscal year 2016, which is the current year we're in, and then we move on to fiscal year 17 and fiscal year 18, so it kind of projects out. The total funds available we have budgeted for fiscal year 16 on the slide show $15.6 million with corresponding expenditures matching to that $15.6 million. Let's see. Oh, here's the mouse. I'd like to draw your attention to right here where it says capital expenditures. I bolded and italicized it, and here it shows the $11.8 million. If we go down here to this section here where it has proposed capital assets, you can see our TOM project is budgeted at $9.9 million, almost $10 million of our overall budgeted capital expenditures for transit are related to our transit operation facility project. The funds for the TOM project have been accumulating over the past fiscal years. As I had mentioned earlier, we have $5 million of PTMISEA money set aside for that. Here on this example, I'm showing it all being spent in fiscal year 2016, but as we know, this project is going to carry over for at least 2 more fiscal years, so whatever is expended here, the remaining dollars will go into 17 and the remaining dollars will go into 18. So all the funding will follow that project.
Quick question, Mr.
Yes,
Chair.
sir.
Do we stand to lose any of that Prop 1B money if we don't spend it by a certain time?
The Prop 1B money will expire in fiscal year 2018. So that money will be spent first. In fact, any costs that are going toward our TOM project at the moment, I am drawing down the PTMISEA money for that purpose.
Great, thank you.
And if there's not any more questions, I can turn it over to Reed Shanky for the transit development plan.
Thank you.
Okay.
Morning.
Morning. First off, I'll apologize. I'm a little bit under the weather, but they tell me I'm not contagious. I'll just probably not win any singing competitions. The transit development plan is really the concrete.
Just might put it back up.
The transit development plan is really the concrete action that we're asking you to take here today. It's a guidance document for our TCAT system for the foreseeable future, probably the next 5 to 10 years or so. It was prepared by TCAG in coordination with TCAT, and it really provides some recommendations. There's no formal must-do activities that would result out of this TDP, but it does set us up for the vision of where we're going in the future. A few of those recommendations would be an adjustment to the fare ratios, which we'll talk about in the next couple slides. It identifies a few locations where we'd like to expand route coverage. We've done a very good job of that in the past, but there are still some locations where we can expand the routes. It ensures coordination with other county transit agencies. TCAT is really one of the few agencies within Tulare County that coordinates or has to coordinate with all of the other transit systems. We have transfers to Dinuba, to Porterville, to Visalia, to Tulare, and none of those other systems really have to talk with everyone else. So we need to ensure that our fare media, our transfers work and coordinate appropriately with those agencies. We're looking to implement electronic fare media. We currently do a lot of punch pass or actual hard cash transactions. Implementing electronic fare media would be modernizing the system and really be improving the ridership or the facilities for the riders. Additional headways on selected routes, that's the frequency of time that the buses would show up at a particular stop. So it's not lengthening the routes or providing additional stop, but it's providing additional buses throughout the stops. We'd like to look at improving dial-a-ride scheduling. As Ben mentioned, there's currently you call in the day before to schedule your dial-a-ride. So there would be some efficiencies we can look at doing to make sure that those routes are more appropriately designated and set up so that we pick people up and drop them off to the best of our abilities. And then finally, we'd like to look at rebranding and increasing the marketing of the TCAT system, modernizing the look of the buses, and providing kind of a more updated, modern appearance for our system. We hope to reach out to people who aren't quite as transit reliant and bring more people into using the TCAT system. So getting into the fare analysis and adjustments, the TDA recommended an increase of the fares. You can see here kind of a comparison between, on the left-hand side, the city transit agencies. We fall in the middle there. And then on the right is more the regional or county transit agencies. Cities operate in a more population-dense area. The typical rides are much shorter versus the regional transit agencies where it's a bit longer ride. You'd have less population densities. You can see we're pretty much in line with the other city transit agencies at about $1.50 for the general fixed route fares. And then some of the other regional transit agencies get up as high as $6.50, maybe more typically $3 per ride. So we would be looking at possibly expanding or increasing the fixed route fares there.
Can you explain how it goes, like Fresno, it's 0.75 cents to $6.50?
It's based on distance, so it's not in TCAT, the system, it's one ride, no matter how far you're going, is a flat rate. Some of these other varied fares are, if it's a shorter route, then they'll charge less. And then dial-a-ride for the locations we don't have, either they don't provide that service or we weren't able to find the information. But you can see that even compared to some of the city transit agencies, our fares are actually on the lower side. One of the main reasons we'd be looking at adjusting the fares is to maintain a fare box revenue ratio of greater than 12%. So this is a requirement that's established by the funding agencies that we get the majority of our funding from. The calculation is just the fare box revenue that we earn over our operating costs, and that's got to be greater than 12% to be eligible to continue receiving those funding sources. We're currently at 13.2% as of the fiscal year 14-15. In the past, we were upwards of 16 or possibly even 17%, so it's been decreasing, most likely as a result of our expanded routes, our expanded operational costs, which are going into potentially less fare box revenue generating areas. We do project operating costs to go up in the future. As I mentioned, we're expanding routes into these lower fare generating areas. We'll be providing these system enhancements, so they do cost money to continually operate, and then fleet enhancements. The last fare adjustment took place for the general fixed routes in the mid-1980s, so it has been a while since we've changed that fare. Here's our...
I was born in the mid-1980s, so it has been quite a while.
It's been a while.
Throw that out there.
Long while.
So here's our proposed adjustments to the fares. You can see the first column is the existing, and then the proposed and the amount changed. We like to use kind of a flat or divisible number, so $2 makes more sense than $1.75 or $1.80, something like that. We do require exact change for the riders, so that makes it a little bit easier. And then a lot of our reduced rates are based off of a 50% fare, so it's hard to do half of a $1.75 ride. So we're looking at $2 here. And then you can see some of the other numbers there. The timing that we're proposing to do this fare adjustment would be summer of next year. Reason for that is it's kind of in between school years, so we can hit it in the summer. And then maybe more importantly, that's when we publish the flyers, the brochures that show all the information. So it would be kind of that July time period. We're not asking for any formal action at this time. It's just kind of introducing the discussion on the fare increases. So we would be returning to the board at a later date for those fare adjustments. As Ben mentioned, one of our kind of our priority projects here is the TOM or TOMF project, if you want to pronounce the F. This is our new facility for bus maintenance and daily operations. It's going to be located at, near the Central Road Yard off of Road 140 and Avenue 256. If you're familiar, it's that vacant lot south of that. This project will be constructed in association with the general master plan for that area, which just off the drawing to the south would include a new fire station. There's discussion of a 911 dispatch center, fire training facility there. So timing-wise, it looks like this project and the fire station would be coming online about the same time. This project includes the infrastructure, the backbone facilities for that whole master planned area. We'd be looking at a few bus bays, the operational center, so this is where the dispatch would occur out of, the driver's lockers. We'd have bus staging in the yellow area there, that's covered parking. This is the slow fuel CNG, so there's two types of CNG fueling. One is the slow fuel. When the bus parks, you connect it and it charges overnight. And then down in the southwest corner, we've got a fast fuel facility. This would be open for both county facility or county fleet and then also public. You can go in and fuel your CNG equipment or your vehicles through there. We've looked at a number of different schematics and layouts for this, and we feel that this is kind of the most operationally functional, sort of that counterclockwise flow of the vehicles. That's what the worms are squiggling through there. That's the tracks of the car or the bus is running through. Estimated cost about $10 million for this. We're currently in design, and we're aiming for construction from about 2016 through 2018. The priority project for us.
Chairman, comment if I may.
Yes.
Mr. Schenke, could you please touch on the speed with which, or the approach that the project management team is taking with regard to prioritizing and completing this project? I think the board would like to hear that.
This is of the utmost urgency, and we are moving forward at light speed, as you like to tell us.
Light speed for government.
That's true, yes. And with that, I think I'd like to introduce Ross Miller. Ross is a fairly new engineer to the county, but he's a senior engineer, and he brings with us a lot of information, both for transit and other facilities. But Ross, I want to run through the next few slides.
Morning. Morning. So I'm here to talk about some of our recent and our planned improvements for the bus system, everything for ridership comfort to safety and security, and various projects have not already been addressed. So one of our main projects this year is a bus shelter program throughout the county. We have $198,000 budgeted for it in this fiscal year. And we are looking at locating and siting bus shelters throughout the county, which, provide riders with a safe place and shade while they wait for the bus, and overall also helps reinforce to the communities where the bus stops are, and just overall creates awareness and a sense of safety for riders and the community regarding these. We are working on locating several new bus shelters throughout this year, and we are doing this in conjunction with our community outreach and input, attending community meetings and seeking feedback from residents. We're also doing this in conjunction with our Complete Streets program, our community plan updates, and our alternative transportation program. And the goal is to make sure that every shelter we site will work with our plans, we'll work with ADA, and we'll work with other rules and regulations to make sure that we are doing the best for the communities and best for the riders as we can. With our budget for this year, we're also looking into potentially other improvements, including providing lighting at these shelters for nighttime on some of our routes that we offer nighttime service, which really does increase the feeling of safety and security for the riders, and also helps, as I said before, create awareness where these stops are, and to remind people that the bus does remain a valid option for transportation during the evening.
Aaron, I have a quick question. Getting back on that, mentioned in the plan, it says there's 160 stop locations, and we're proposing 12 new ones this coming fiscal year. Does this include pouring some concrete, a pad, or are we just sticking a shelter out there in the mud in some of these cases?
These will all include a concrete pad to place these on. Most of these, as we're trying to do them in conjunction with the others, may be part of larger projects that involve curb and gutter and other things, depending on where they're being located and
Right.
the other plans.
If I might follow up with that, I was going to ask a question later about it, but I'm happy to see, it looks like two there in Sultana, because I go by there, and these are currently seats, metal seats that sit in the sun, and certain times of the year they're just not even usable because of the heat and so forth, so I'm happy to see that's going to happen. But it also makes me think, like I was in London the other day, and there they have no curb, sidewalks, and gutters. Obviously they have bus stops. Are we planning to come up with a strategy from an ADA standpoint and so forth of how perhaps to locate these structures in a place where we don't normally have curbs and gutters? I realize it's more of a challenge, but not any less needed in those places, and perhaps even more so than where we have curbs and gutters.
I will fully agree with you, and as I've said, we're working with the other groups. The 12 that we're showing right now is just part of a first phase for this year. We are planning more later, but we are working on issues, such as you said, with the remainder of the budget to make sure that where they go, we can handle those issues and that we are most efficiently and effectively taking care of those needs, in addition to just...
And just a comment, too, I've seen some of these shelters with the solar lighting in them and so forth, and they really are very inviting and attractive when you drive by them in the evening. I mean, again, you know they're there, they're quite visible, they look safe because of the light that's there, and I think those are tremendous opportunities.
We agree, and that is why this is one of our larger plans for the year.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Hughes.
Do we have these shelters in inventory now?
No, we have already submitted the requisition, but there's a couple-month lead time for these first 12, and we will soon, depending on the plans, potentially requisition more to have some in inventory when we decide what the next step.
Thank you. Thank you.
As part of our attempts to attract more riders and increase the safety and security, we're looking at other options. We'll get into some more involving the rider comfort and access to TCAT information in a moment. But one of the main things we are doing to increase rider comfort is going after new buses that are a larger format bus that provide a significantly more comfortable ride. And we are initially going to target those on some of our larger routes. And over time, we hope, as part of our plan, to install those on all of the routes that are large enough and capable of sustaining ridership, where they will be of value, since they are significantly more expensive than these smaller buses. We're also looking at electronic fare collection. As we said, we are the main agency that interacts with the other agencies throughout the county, and we are looking at attempting to get an electronic fare media so people can have a prepaid card that allows them to pay on both ours and other systems. Or alternatively, we're hoping to position ourselves so that when the remaining city agencies switch to electronic fare collection, we'll be able to switch the T-Pass from a calendar month pass to a 31-day pass, which would be more inviting and more of a incentive for many of the riders. We're also looking at upgrading our automated vehicle locating system and GPS devices, and I'll return to that in a moment. But part of the goal there is to provide real-time information to our riders as to where the buses are, how long it will take them to get to their stop. They can better plan and make sure that they do not miss and know up to the minute where it is and when it will arrive. We're also looking at security cameras to increase the safety of the buses. We're looking at onboard Wi-Fi. This is more of a planned thing, but it helps attract new riders, and it helps us reach out and attract riders away from driving who have the option of not taking transit. It's especially popular with students and would potentially help decrease traffic in some of our intercity routes. We're also looking at 88 enunciators. This is further down the road, but these are automated systems that say the current stop, the next stop, and help visually impaired passengers maintain awareness as to where they are and where they are headed. And as I said, as part of our efforts, we are looking at attracting ridership and increasing our awareness to the public. We're considering going out for a new independent website or just TCAT, having our information, having the real-time maps showing where our buses are, and getting a separate URL that is easier for the public to find rather than having to go through the Resource Management Agency's website. We have also been working in conjunction with TCAG to get our system onto Google Transit, which is significantly easier for users with smartphones or users with internet access to plan routes in conjunction with the other agencies or just through TCAT alone. And these systems are currently in beta testing and are expected to go live, I think, around January. We're also looking, as part of our real-time information for riders, a system, since roughly half of our riders do not have access to smartphones, a system that allows simple SMS text messaging for riders to use simple SMS text messaging to send a code based on each bus stop to a system, which will then give the rider a reply text message stating the approximate time and distance away when the next bus will arrive headed on the various routes. And I've mentioned onboard Wi-Fi. It just helps with our riders and helps make us more attractive to people who have the option of not taking transit. And as part of our attempts to show the new technology, the new buses that we are planning, and the new website, we're looking into options for an overall rebranding of the transit system, which may include new color schemes, new wrapping for the buses, in conjunction with the shelters and the lighting to increase and to just create awareness in the public that we're a new system that is interested in catering the needs of not just the reliant riders, but riders who have an option as well.
I'm seeing a stylized Black Panther, kind of a motif on here that
you got the
really cool, kind of a thing.
Well, we just saved all of the design costs right there.
Just get with Porterville High School. They've got all kinds of Panther paraphernalia.
I was thinking more along the lines of a picture of Mike on the side of each bus. Mike Ennis on the side, yeah.
All right, now we've lost
Mr. Chair,
control.
can we get a little more serious here? One quick question for you. I know in the past and I've seen a little bit of advertising on our buses, and if you look at the city buses, they're covered with advertising. You look at county buses, and there's little to no advertising on those. Have we got that fixed yet to where we have an agency actually selling advertising spacing for us? We're paying our bills, they're paying their bills. Is that fixed yet?
We do have an agency that we are contracted with who is responsible for finding and securing advertisements for us. It's a fee-sharing program, so the advertising revenue gets split between us and them. I don't remember the ratio off the top of my head and don't want to speak improperly as to what it is. But it has given them the incentive. Unfortunately, it's harder for them to sell advertising to us because some of our buses spend a lot of time facing trees, and trees don't tend to buy a lot of products. So as we move forward, we're also looking at other options we can do to increase ridership and otherwise improve our system. We're always considering the option of adding additional headways, which is increasing the frequency of the bus. The time or the number of trips that one bus makes on one route. We're always looking at this option, and we're always trying to make sure that as we expand headways, we will be able to continue to recover fare to the necessary levels. We're also looking at some more, you might consider out there options, such as connecting Porterville to Delano. We're attempting to study the effects of this as to what the ridership might be if we were to add this intercity route, which would also affect our Route 20, and it would better serve portions of the Southeast County and would be done in conjunction with various long-range planning documents being prepared or in having been prepared by TCAG and TCAG's consultants, including the Southeast County Mobility Plan and the Long Range Transit Plan. So this is one option. We have roughly an idea of the cost, and we're looking at both funding sources to cover that gap as well as other options or different routes and stuff, but we wanted to throw this Route 80 expansion here. Currently it stops right here in Terabella. Then, addition, we're looking at other opportunities and other things we can do to improve transportation throughout the county, including the potential for subsidizing van pools using grant fundings from various sources. These are all options we continue to look at going forward to make sure that we can offer the best and most effective and efficient system for our residents. Back to Ben.
Yeah, I'll wrap it up here in the next few slides. In terms of future considerations for transit, of course, like Reed mentioned, we deal with all the other cities that provide transit service, so we do extensive coordination with them, especially with some of the system upgrades that we're proposing, making sure they're compatible. One of the things that we'll work on in collaboration with our CAO is currently we get LTF funds, approximately $5 million a year. They first go to transit, and then the remaining portion of it goes over to roads. So we need to analyze, as we're making more improvements, more of that funding is going to go to transit. What is the impact going to be to roads? And so to be a little bit more strategic with that funding. So that's something we'll be working on with our CAO. Of course, our operations and maintenance facility, which we talked about. We'll have, currently we contract with MV Transportation to provide our maintenance and to run our fleet. Something we need to consider, is that going to continue to be the same? Are we going to hire staff to work at the facility? Something, again, that we'll need to consider for the future. And then future fuel options, talked about having 100% BNG fleet. We're starting to see that there's funding or grants opportunities for other fuel sources or energy sources. And so that's something that we'll continue to monitor and see if it becomes viable in the future. So in summary, our major efforts, we're moving at light speed on our transit operations and maintenance facility. Number one priority as far as transit, and one of our top priorities at the RMA. Our goal is to improve our ridership experience for our users, and then work on some upgrades to our current system in terms of electronic fare media. And all of this, again, will be achievable through our team-based approach at the RMA. So the requests today are to receive this report, which we just presented to you. The action item includes approving the transit development plan, which Reed talked about, which was developed by TCAG in collaboration with Tulare County, and then to solicit input from the Board of Supervisors. And I do want to take the opportunity to thank the Board of Supervisors for your direction and support. As far as our strategic management system, the goal is to be responsive to the requests of the board, and so that's what we're here to do. I'd like to thank our CAO also for his guidance and input, and really a lot for his mentorship, helping us get to the new RMA where we can deliver these projects on a timely basis, and to be responsive to your board. TCAG staff, again, they prepared the transit development plan. We work with them. A lot of our funding sources come through TCAG. I'd like to thank them for their help with our transit system. And again, like we mentioned, coordination with the city transit providers. I'd like to thank them for their help in coordinating our systems. NV Transportation, which is our contractor who operates our system, and then of course RMA staff for their hard work in keeping this program going, and hopefully into the future we can improve upon it. You didn't see Dan Fox and Teresa Ortega, who are full-time on transit, and I'd like to thank them for their contributions as well. That's it.
I have a question regarding the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District. They are very much focused on getting cap and trade funds for air quality projects, and also under the rules that have been adopted in the legislature, disadvantaged communities are going to be dedicated a stream of funding, a significant amount of money. Are we coordinating with them? Are we spending time with the air district, seeing how we might be able to benefit from that funding for? Because I mean, it's a perfect fit. It would seem to me for our disadvantaged communities, whether it's increasing our amount of, the times of day we go by, or maybe more equipment, or even the shelters and so forth. Because all these things would fit into benefiting disadvantaged communities using cap and trade funds to do that. Could be a rather major source of revenue, I would think, for our operations.
Yes, definitely. I think that was kind of what I was referring to as far as some of the sources of funding for alternative fuels. I think maybe Ross may be able to speak to some of the cap and trade funding that we're receiving for our transit system. I don't know if you want to come and talk about some of the
Do we receive
funding.
that directly through the state, or do we receive it through the air district?
There are funding sources coming from both the state and the air district. The air district itself, we've recently submitted a letter of support in one of their programs, which was for zero emission vehicles, which were either fuel cell or electric. We're not positive where that's going, because it seems at the moment that they may be requesting a significantly higher match than we're going to be capable of making, especially considering the high cost of the electric buses they're pushing for. And some of the state funding as well was some of the low carbon transit operations program that was discussed earlier, which is funded through cap and trade, which does have requirements that it go for disadvantaged communities. And almost all of the projects that we're capable of doing in this county would qualify as benefiting disadvantaged communities. Did that answer your question sufficiently?
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're not leaving any stone unturned as far as seeking funding, because I think there's going to be significant funding there now and in the future with cap and trade funding. Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Supervisor Vanderpool?
Just a comment, Ben. I think you did a great presentation, and Reed and Ross, thank you and Sophia for putting this together. I think having a collaborative, team-based approach definitely helps you to avoid what Supervisor Worthley was talking about in terms of leaving stones unturned, and so I really do commend you for that. I also want to commend Dan. Dan was kind of thrown under the bus yesterday at the Health Advisory Committee meeting talking about transit, and there were some complaints about from constituents in the Pixley area and them being students and catching a bus and having the bus take so long to get to their classes at COS. And I think that one thing that some people may lose sight of is the fact that a $1.50 ride from Pixley to Visalia, or $2 come June if that's approved. That's a pretty darn good deal to get from one place to another. And the advancements you talked about in the improvement section of this presentation, helping residents to be able to GPS track where the buses are or receive text message notifications, adding Wi-Fi to the buses so that riders can make the best use of their time and accomplish things while they're just being transported from point A to point B. I think that makes the experience that much greater, and that the relative certainty of knowing how to time your day around transit is going to make the system so much better. So I look forward to these improvements being implemented, and I think there are great days ahead for the Tulare County area transit system, and I hope that Dan can look forward to presentations to the Health Advisory Committee in years in the future when all these improvements have been made. So thanks a bunch for your
Thank you.
presentation.
Vice Cox.
You mentioned outreach in the communities. I know in the past that maybe one of these shelters have been put on the wrong side of the road, or set in the low part where there, mud accumulates, stuff like that. What kind of outreach and how are you going to do that in those communities? I mean, you're spread all over the county here with the red dots of where these new shelters are going to go. Who's heading up that outreach in those communities?
I think it's, again, through our team-based approach. We, our planning and economic development branch, we're all aware of what each others are doing. They're doing an aggressive campaign to update the community plans. That requires public outreach, taking the opportunity to not only talk about community plans, some of the things that, some of the improvements that the communities would like to see in their communities, which include curb gutter sidewalk, bus shelters. So we're accomplishing it through that process.
It'll all be wrapped in. Okay, great.
Yes.
Then one quick comment. I can remember, I've been on the TCAG board for close to 15 years. I can remember when we did this unmet needs, went through the unmet needs process, where it was 2 or 3 or more hours of people coming in and complaining about the bus systems, how bad they were, how slow they were, the stops. And now we've gone to, I think, a 20 to 30 minutes of public comment to where the people come in and have very specific needs. Why did you eliminate my one bus route? Can we move the bus stop to the other side of the street? Very specific, minute needs. I think the county, all of the agencies have done a wonderful job, mostly since Measure R, making transit a more friendly process. One of the slides I always appreciated that Dan used to show during this presentation, how our ridership has increased over the last 5 to 10 years. I missed that. I know we were at one time 100,000 or so riders a year. Now we're pushing 400,000 riders a year, and that's just in my time here on the board. We can't attribute that just to growth in population because we're growing, 2% per year, and we're growing 25% or more in our riders per year in those buses. So I think, the staff is to be commended. I like the team-based approach because we're now taking it to the next level. I look forward to the 500,000 mark, in maybe my next term. So I'm excited. You guys have done a great job.
Thank you.
Anything else? Yes, Mr. Spot.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may just make a few remarks. First, Ben, I would like to thank you as the team leader. I'd also like to acknowledge the rest of the team members, Sophia, Reed, Ross, Dan, Teresa, and most importantly, the impresario back there, Mr. Coyne, for getting it done. Your kinetic energy in stimulating to get this group together for the past month is acknowledged and appreciated. 2 other substantive comments I'd like to make. As this CAO increasingly embraces economic development and target marketing, I want to thank you for your willingness to coordinate and vet, because it's very important that we're all on the same page with regard to our coordinated marketing effort. And that's something we look forward to in the future at a much higher level of activity by the CAO. The other point is this, and this is very important. I know all of you have been working for the past 2 or 3 years extensively in the evenings doing community plan update meetings, complete streets meetings, and now transit meetings in a coordinated fashion to try to get the best bang for your public buck in delivering public value by improvements. I just wanted to acknowledge that because I know there have been hundreds of meetings which are unprecedented, which you all have been conducted by taking turns. You're all on the same page in a circular fashion so that the workflow keeps going. I just want to say thank you for the stunning efforts that you are leading at RMA.
Thank you.
Just a quick comment, too. I appreciate all the work that's being done and the opportunities. One thought that came to my mind is Pete and I both have had some issues with PG&E where they've had public meetings for public safety and so forth. And it just reminds me that there are other meetings and the opportunities for you to coordinate with them. And schools have carnivals. They have all kinds of different things. So if you have a particular an area where you aren't doing the economic development kind of work, and so you have a steady stream of meetings and you're looking for other opportunities, they are out there. And and if we can be assistants in that regard, give our office a call, but also the school districts, and there's a lot of would-be partners out there, I think, that can get that message, especially if you're looking at maybe doing a whole new route where you're trying to really, get it out there with a lot of flair and so forth. But I do like the idea of that stylized Black Panther on it. Okay. All right. At this time, accept a motion then on this matter.
Motion to receive the report and approve the transit action plan.
Second. Motion by Supervisor Cox, second by Supervisor Ennis. Please cast your votes, and the votes are unanimous.
Thank you.
Long time on the hot seat there for you. Okay, and now we go to item 46, a presentation providing an overview and update of the Economic Development and Planning Branch of the Resource Management Agency. Morning, Mr. Washam.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman, Supervisors, County Council. Mike Washam, Tulare County RMA Assistant Director for Economic Development Branch. Today, we're going to go over an update for the branch operations. Specifically, we're going to talk a little bit about the drought impacts, organizational structure, the focus primarily on economic development, office and activities, recent activities, and then divisional updates, as well as the outlook going into 2016. During this drought emergency, all branches of the RMA have been, including economic development, are assisting in the effort to serve those most affected by the situation. We've been working in close collaboration with the CAO on Munson and East Porterville wells. We have multiple bottled water programs, over $2 million worth of grants, serving 1,600 families, 7 schools, 2,800 students. We've converted some rehab financing into lateral connections, and we have a pending application as well. Permit Center has issued building permits, and building inspectors have checked over 620 of the portable tanks, and we're using program income funding to purchase a water tender for the fire department. So those are some activities above and beyond what our normal objective for our branch, but we work with that and we go forward. Our economic development organizational chart, I just want to touch on that. We've got 6 divisions. The economic development office, Eric Coyne has really gone beyond his role as the tourism and film commissioner by taking on leadership of grants program and the drought response. This has allowed me to really focus on private business development. Our permit center is led by Chief Planner Jason Garcia-Labu. Our environmental planner, Chief Planner is Hector Terra. Special projects, Dave Bryant. Our project processing is led by Aaron Bach. And our building and housing division is led by Dennis Lehman. Talking about economic development, we've implemented this first quarter of 2015-16 fiscal year, the BEAR program. What this is really is it's an acronym for Business Expansion, Attraction, and Retention. We're focusing primarily on existing businesses because up to about 80% of job growth is from existing businesses. We want to grow those businesses that are already here. In terms of our objectives, what we've done is we've gone out and met with some of the primary employers. We're starting to just roll this out. We've met with Seton Pistachios. We've met with Sierra Forest Products, Peñas, and Streamline Irrigation. What this does is creates a network between the business owners and the county, so the communication is there, and it works in a number of ways. We give them the contact information, so when they have issues, they can call directly to us, and we can take corrective actions. We also learn of concerns that a business or an industry may have. Like when we were with Supervisor Ennis, we were at Sierra Forest Products, and that's when they brought up a number of legislative actions that were pending regarding the harvesting of the timber, the fire, those types of things. So that keeps this communication open. So that's what's really designed for this BEAR program to do is open the communications, be able to, if we have incentives that the state has now, we can pass that information on to the businesses. So we work in close collaboration with our business community. We've developed a business response team. This is really in an effort to provide expedited development, plan review, and permitting to businesses. This can be somewhere between anywhere from a 2 or 3 person meeting. Supervisor Vanderpool and myself went to Sundale Vineyards a couple of years ago to preliminary meet and kind of discuss a project. Now, I'll mention that later on. Or it could be an all-hands-on-deck meeting where this picture here is actually we're talking with Foster Farms, And we've got the fire department here, we've got environmental health, we've got public works, planning, housing, economic development. They're all there. And these companies are, and especially the contractors, are really impressed that we're able to get all the people in a meeting at one time. They say they go to other counties, they'll have to schedule a meeting with the fire department, and then a week or two later they go to the planning department. We're able to get these on site and get everybody in one room, get all the contact information shared, bring up all the concerns and issues, and it really expedites the permitting process. Now we'll touch a little bit about the various sectors. In our healthcare sector, we've brought in four medical clinics in the recent past. These clinics are offering about 3,600 monthly visits combined on those four. That includes medical and dental visits. They're employing approximately 52 employees, including 12 providers. For the Woodville Center as well as the Terabella Center, the RMA processed zone changes in 60 days, which is a fantastic feat. But now for Traver, we could go straight to building permits because of our community plan process, which is geared towards economic development as well, allowing more by right uses. So they didn't even have to do the zone change. They went straight to building permits.
And Mike, I understand they've actually had a soft opening at Traver.
That's what I was... Now, he stole my thunder from McDonald's. You're stealing my thunder on that. Okay. Yes, they did have a soft opening last week. They'll plan to have a large grand opening ceremony in January. So yes, Traver is up and going, and we're away from there. Sierra Care by the Lake. This is a congregate care facility up near Springville along the Costa Lake up there. It's kind of an upscale center. Been well received. They're just starting to fill their beds now. They have a maximum of 12 residents at one time. So it's a nice facility and a nice setting. But now I don't know if anybody, some people might know Paul Harvey, the old newscaster. I know Mr. Vanderpool probably will not remember that because it's before his time. But he always, the rest of the story. So I'm going to hit a few of, here's the rest of the story. When the investor group from LA came up to initially look for locating this type of business, they were looking in Lynn Cove area. They were looking in agricultural areas, looking for some land with views of the mountains. Well, it's really not appropriate for a congregate or an assemblage of people type of facility to be located in ag. It's just not a good fit. So rather than maybe in the old days we said, it's not allowed. Thank you very much. No, what we're looking for is creating a pathway to success at the RMA. And we're taking Supervisor Ashida's comment that the Tulare County is open for business, and we're looking for creating a pathway to success. So what we work with them is showing areas that would be a good fit for that type of project, contacted them with local realtors, brokers, and they went out and found some sites, and this is what the end result of that is. So now you know that we're not all about saying no, but we're about finding ways to get projects built and put in the ground. On our renewable energy sector, just to give you an overview of our solar projects, we've got 18 projects approved for a total of 360 megawatts. Currently, as we are today, there's 12 commercial facilities operating for 200 megawatts. Now, that is equivalent to 100% of the power used for all of the households in Visalia, Exeter, Farmersville, and Woodlake. That's what we're producing right now on those commercial sites. We've got 6 more projects that are getting ready to go forward. We have grading permits in, and those will be going forward in the first quarter of 2016. We have an annual revenue stream from the existing projects of $81,500 off of those, which at full buildup would be raised up to almost $250,000. Our permitting fees for building permits for all the inspectors, because this is a quite extensive construction process. To date, it's been $600,000, and at full build-out, it'll be about $1.5 million of building permit fees. The jobs that have been created are about 800 to 1,000 jobs over the course of the last, now it's about 48 months of construction. And now we're really gearing up into the next year for that. There's a handout in your packet that gives a solar detail spreadsheet, basically breaking out our commercial things, but also residential and other commercial and dairy products. I'd just like to highlight that the dairies are really going, since about April of last year, they've really gone full-fledged on getting solar projects on the dairy sites, as well as other commercial facilities. You can see there's a lot in the pipeline. There's been 10 megawatts or 9 megawatts constructed in commercial, but there's another 19 in the pipeline under consideration and in that phase. These are all done by right. Your board has taken the foresight to be able to say that these are by right uses, so we're just going straight to building permits in all of these cases. In the agribusiness sector, as I mentioned, Supervisor Vanderpool and myself met with Sundale. They've just completed over $6 million expansion of their cold storage facility, basically doubling the size of their facility. Seton Farms this year completed the installation of 13 new silos. Streamline Irrigation completed its second expansion in as many years. And here's the rest of the story to that. That we met, I remember the first time we met with Phil and Katrina was back in 2012, late 2012. They had only been open about a year, and they were subletting warehouse space. And they'd outgrown that, and they were looking for a place. And we were helping the Traver School District sell some surplus property, and we were trying to set them up. Unfortunately, they weren't successful in obtaining that land. Another private purchase bought that. However, they wanted to stay in the Traver area. It fits perfect for the distribution and the center of their business, but they also really have ties to that community. So they found a location just outside of the community, and they need a special use permit. We told them, what do you need? But think big. Don't just think about what you want now, but plan big. It's like go big or go home. It's like, tell us all what you want, because you don't want to have to come back here in a few years to do it again. So then you can just come to building permits. Well, they designed what they wanted to, about a 10,000 square foot structure with an office and some area. So they had their grand opening on July of 2014. Well, at that grand opening, and I know Chairman Worthley was in attendance there, that grand opening, they were already saying we need to build again. And they had that all set. So they've already doubled their size of their buildings. They've gone from a startup in December of 2011 with about 3 or 4 employees to now 50 full-time employees plus a number of subcontractors that use their facilities. And they're one of the larger sales tax generators of the county. They're consistently near the top. So that's the rest of the story as far as Streamline goes.
And the rest of the story is it's a family operation, and I think they consider Mr. Washington to be part of the family.
On commercial and industrial sectors, Dollar Generals, we've opened new stores in Strathmore, Farmersville, and Tipton will be just opening in the next few days, I believe. I don't have a specific date, but I saw them stocking. So we have building permits under review in Pixley, a project review committee process for one in Orosi, and entitlement applications are in for one in Poplar as well as one near Springville. Air Liquide opened up a 3.8 million carbon dioxide facility. I have a reprint of an article regarding Air Liquide in your packet as well, that from Area Development. Peña's completed their expansion project as well this year, got final approval. Special Projects Division, we were able to get the housing element and SB 244 compliance approved without appeal or without litigation. I keep getting notice from all the other communities and jurisdictions that they're just starting that process and they're up against the clock, but we've already got our adopted plan at HCD for final approval from them. We've done an unprecedented 7 community plan updates within the past 12 months. That's unheard of. It's probably been 20 years to get 7 of those done in the past. So those community plan updates have really helped establish the conditions to stimulate economic development through additional by right uses and the mixed use overlay zoning. And again, the rest of the story on that is, as I mentioned, the Traver community plan allowed the medical clinic to go in by right. Shortly after we updated the Tipton community plan, I received a zone change application for Young's Transport to put a facility next door to the Ventura Coastal facility. And I said, wait a second, we've approved this. You can come in with building permits in your plans. You don't have to come through all this. So I sent back their check and their application, and they were very happy about that. So these community plans, everything is geared towards economic development. I mean, these community plans set the groundwork for development in these communities that really haven't seen much development over the course of the past few decades. Complete streets. I know we had the great presentation regarding transit, and we've been out in the complete streets, getting complete streets policy programs for as we go forward with these community plans. I know this spreadsheet here is very difficult to look at. We do have one included in your packet as well to read. So right now we've got 9 communities that have approved. You just approved on your consent item today the phase 2 community plans for the policies for complete streets. We've got 45 street sections identified as priorities from these communities through all this outreach meetings. We've got 16 streets that are being designed to 30% level. And the reason why we're doing this, and as you can see, there's 3 columns on the end with the check marks, is we're setting the stage to be in a good point to be competitive when we go after grant money. And that's what the Complete Streets Policy Program really does. We've identified, we've done the community outreach, we've got the design to 30%, so we're set, we've got that advantage. Now, thus far, and again, we're just now completing these projects as these have come in. So in the last few months, we've already applied for 6 grants, and we received 5 of those. So we're setting the stage, we're doing it proper. This is a strategic approach to getting grants for the funding of this. And in conjunction with these complete streets are often the transit stops and those types of other facilities. Complete Streets Phase 3 is just proposed at this point, but we're looking at requesting 11 additional communities, which would result in another 50 sections of road. Yet to be determined, because that's determined at the community outreach meeting. So that's what we're looking for as far as complete streets go. The project processing division, we've done over 300 projects again this year. Again, a number of general plan amendments, parcel maps, minor modifications, zone changes. Some of the major projects was the self-help Goshen Village East, Daryl's Mini Storage, Griggs project out by Lemon Cove, Papich Construction, and a subdivision in Tipton that's just, I can't remember the number, I think it was 8. I think it was 8 or 9 units. So that's going to be new houses inside the community of Tipton, which is fantastic. Environmental Planning Division, they've processed, this is a phenomenal number too. I mean, I can't believe this. 14 environmental impact reports were done this year. That's just the speed of which we can get these things out is just phenomenal. We've done 183 exemptions and 15 negative or mitigated neg decks. And this is, again, a collaborative effort. We're reaching above and beyond just for doing planning projects. We work closely with the CAO's office through the Public Works branch, but also solid waste, the general services, the sheriff's office. So we're your go-to for environmental review, that's for sure. Now, this is what I've been talking about for a while, is that we're seeing sustained growth in our building permits. This is a phenomenal, the last 5 or 6 months has just been phenomenal growth, where we've seen the sustained growth across the board. Last year we did almost 4,500 permits. The year before was about 32. This year, the first quarter, we're already at over 1,300. We're geared towards surpassing 5,000 for this fiscal year. We haven't seen 5,000 since the peak for the recession and before the real estate crunch. And that was the very, very peak. So we're at levels now that we haven't really seen before in the county other than that one-time peak. And we're performing, getting these things in. I put in Farmersville and Exeter as well just to show that the trend continues there, because we do process their building permits and we do their building inspections for those cities. This is a big number. This is based on the valuations for those building permits. In the last 13 quarters, it matched that chart. Almost $500 million has been invested into Tulare County. So these are phenomenal numbers. Farmersville, almost $20 million, and Exeter, $7 million. Some major developments have been going in. So this is all good news. We're going forward. For our building and housing, besides all the new construction, there's other responsibilities that Dennis Lehman runs, the code enforcement and abandoned vehicles and substandard abatement, employee housing program, as well as medical marijuana. In code enforcement, we've had so this is from January to date, so this calendar year, 401 complaints, and after investigation, they opened up 279 of those into actual files. They closed 295 during that time period, and they currently have 360 active. Abandoned vehicles, they've voluntarily removed 437, and the county has towed 109. Substandard abatement, we're running about 12 to 15 per year. This last year, we've had a couple more major ones. The pictures of Tagus Ranch that came down as part of that abatement program, and the facade of the pink structure in Terabella has just come down the last month, a couple months ago. So those are the cleanup activities that we're watching and overseeing, as well as employee housing program. We have 182 permits to operate for employee housing. That's the largest employee housing program in the state of California. And our medical marijuana, it's pretty much the same as last year, slightly down. The number of plants that we removed are a few thousand less, from 44,000 down to 40,000. Maybe the drought's affecting everybody. Maybe we're doing better at keeping our bottled water away from the growers. I don't know. But so there's a slight reduction on that. I would just like to kind of wrap it up. And well, I have one last slide after this, but this level of performance has really been that's been attained by the branch. It couldn't have been achieved without the assistance, expertise, and this team-based collaboration that we've been hearing about today throughout the other presentations. Of all three branches of the Resource Management Agency, the Public Works, Fiscal, and Economic Development. And by continuing to emphasize a strategic management approach as been implemented by our current CAO, it's projected that these advancements will only increase during the next year. I'd like to acknowledge the Board of Supervisors who has really set the guidance and the direction of economic development for the forefront, being open for business, being responsive, and we take it from your direction to move forward. The county CAO, who has implemented these strategies and as Ben had mentioned, really mentored a lot of the leadership coming up through RMA, and without his guidance and wisdom, I don't know whether these things would have been attained. And then, of course, I want to acknowledge all of the RMA staff, because they're the people that get it done. They're the ones that, with their boots on the ground, getting the projects completed, doing the inspections, doing the enforcement. So with that, I'd just like to give you one last slide with the outlook for the first part of next year. We've got Crystal Golden in Tipton. They purchased the former cheese plant down there. They're planning to put in, on a conservative side, $30 million in improvements. They're converting it to an ultra-high temperature milk facility, and they're going to be strictly for exporting to specifically China. They might expand their markets, but right now it's to China. There's a demand in China for especially dairy products, and the thing is, the trends change, because a few years ago it was thought, well, it's powdered milk and come on. Well, they don't want powdered milk, because powdered milk you have to mix it with water, and their water is not good. So they want the high temperature so they can just go straight to packaging and shipped over. So that's what they're looking at. In your packet, I have the summary of a 1,400-page market study analysis that the company performed before they chose the location and moved forward as part of their investment packet. McDonald's, as Supervisor Vanderpool mentioned, tomorrow we're breaking ground. There's an invitation in your packages for the groundbreaking ceremony for tomorrow morning. That was a touch and go for a while. They'd been kind of dragging the developer on for a while, and we pretty much cut bait about a month ago. We said, it's time to, close this deal, or there's plenty of other fast food would love to be here. And when we pulled the rug out from under them, they came back within a week and said, let's close it. So kind of forced the issue there. Foster Farms, again, that picture from the business response team, that was our meeting with their representatives. They have an organic feed line that we in their existing footprint. I signed the approval for the minor modification last week. Their building permits are ready to be picked up. That's for a $15 million investment for an organic feed line there. Tipton Medical Clinic, the existing facility there is going to be about double, or really almost tripling in size. Your board will be considering a road vacation in the middle of January to be able to allow for that expansion to take place. Now, we're really seeing an uptick for the big, large solar projects that have been approved previously. Con Ed, who just purchased all the Vestal projects, as well as Tulare Solar Center, they're moving forward with their projects. We've already issued grading permits. They've submitted their building permits. So this is going to be a huge endeavor over the next 12 to 18 months probably to get these jobs completed. So there's going to be a number. There's going to be probably 1,000 people in all those 6 different projects working at one time out there. Dollar General stores, we're looking to open in Pixley, Poplar, Orosi, and Springville this year. Dairy Experts, this is a laboratory scientific testing facility that's been working on the COS campus, and we've worked with them to find a location because COS is expanding their class schedules, so now they can't have that facility. They need it for students, so we've helped them relocate to a spot along the 99 freeway, and they'll be building here in the first quarter as well. And then Daryl's Mini Storage should be breaking ground as well shortly. So that would conclude staff's report. If you have any questions.
Before I allow my other staff members to speak, I just want to say I think one of the best investments this county made was redirecting our funds from the Tulare County Economic Development Corporation to our own economic development. The results have been nothing short of astounding, and it's just so gratifying to see. And I do want to say a great appreciation. I know your folks work very, very, very hard, attend a lot of meetings. And it's just shows what you just demonstrated this morning, how it's paying off, and will continue to bring additional dividends to Tulare County. And so my thanks to you, Mike, and to Eric Coyne, and to all the staff, people who work so very hard to make these things happen. But what a great way to end 2015 with this report, and to see what's happening in Tulare County. And it's not like it's the end, it's just really sort of the beginning. So, Supervisor Vanderpool.
Yeah, I was just going to obviously reiterate the thanks. I think you and your team work very, very hard on the economic development front, and I think that your presentation just evidenced the results of that. And you really talked about the permit value, the taxable value that's being added to the county. But we can't forget to mention the jobs that are being added, because that's really where we're going to be making a huge difference for our communities. And you look at the focus of this presentation was in the unincorporated areas. Now, we don't know that these employees are going to come from our incorporated cities or the unincorporated areas, but they're most likely going to be Tulare County residents that are going to be getting these jobs. And they're just from the what's coming in 2016, it looks to me that there's several hundred, if not 1,000, if you look at the temporary construction type jobs, but several hundred permanent jobs that are going to be created in the county, and this is just based on projects we know of. So I think we've got a lot to look forward to. I think there's a lot of people that are going to have very good 2016s because of the work that you have put forth in the Economic Development Division. So great job. Keep up the good work. Sorry for stealing your thunder on McDonald's tomorrow, but I look forward to being there and celebrating with you, Mike. So thanks for all your effort.
Supervisor Sheedy.
Well, I'm glad that we took the phrase open for business to heart. It's really paid off. There's another concept. When we say we're open for business, the person who wants to do business has another concept, and that is time is money. And that's a concept that's extremely important for major industrial users or any business. Is we looked at the raising of the spillway of success. It's almost doubled in that amount of time that we've been delayed to do something. So the other concept I want to get forward is time is money. And as Supervisor Worthley brought up, we're only at the beginning of what's going to happen here in Tulare County, but we have to be prepared for what's going to happen in the next 5 years to 10 years. The housing cost, the commuting cost to the metropolitan areas on the coast is just, it's not sustainable. So we're going to see a rush that comes to the valley, and I'm sure that our RMA department will be prepared for it. So thank you for all the efforts of your department, and I'm very pleased with the progress we've made.
Supervisor Cox.
I'll jump on board with everyone else too. You know, I think this economic development team, this approach, the county being open for business, is actually achieving what many of us saw the potential, you know, a decade ago. So kudos to your team. I agree with Supervisor Ishida. We are going to see another boom, I believe, coming soon. And just the jobs created by this effort are just amazing as well. So keep up the good work. You have the full support of this board, of the CAO, moving forward with this effort. So good job, Mike, and your team.
Supervisor Ennis.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Great report. And then you tie to this the tourism and the film industry too, that has kind of exploded under Eric's tutorage. So he's done a great job. But also, this is a great opportunity for us to use the Speakers Bureau, and hopefully clubs and different communities will call in and want us to come out. This is the kind of thing we need to be talking about. This is the expertise in the county that people need to know about. So great job. Great job.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
If I may, just one remark. I want to thank you, Mr. Washam, Mr. Coyne, for your outstanding performance in leading the economic development effort in Tulare County. What I'd also like to acknowledge, and in your presentation today, as reflected in the PowerPoint, illustrates how economic development has worked with environmental planning, land use planning, building and construction, engineering, and fiscal in order to get it done. This is testimony in terms of how working together, pulling together, it can happen. So thank you very much for that effort.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
One last comment. It is very rewarding to see where we're at after all the criticism that I personally received and board members received for going on our own for economic development.
Do we need to take a motion to accept our presentation, Michelle? No, just an information item. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. You know, there's so much more that could have been said. I was thinking about, we talked about the drought situation. We also, another great success story are the number of drilling permits we have given. We have drilled an incredible number of wells in Tulare County to replace wells that have gone out of condition. And I mean, that in and of itself is a great success story because, again, it's a tremendous amount of work to get that accomplished. All right, at this time we will go into closed session. We have our items, and we also have a special meeting that was scheduled for 11:15 in closed session, and we have an addendum item. Madam Chairman,
Speaking, Mr. Chairman, it's now past 11:15, so you would need to convene the special meeting so we can adjourn from it.
Meeting is so convened.
On your board's regular and special meeting agendas, you have items A through M. On your board's closed session agenda, item A is off agenda. There may be an announcement.
All right. Thank you all for being here today. Merry Christmas to all of you.
Announcement of closed session today, December 15th, 2015, by Kathleen Bales-Lang, County Council. In the matter of reporting out on the board's closed session meeting, in regard to item B, as in boy, the board's closed session agenda, People versus United States Fire Insurance Company, District Court of Appeal case number F070771. The board has voted to refrain from seeking further appellate relief on the motion of Supervisor Cox, seconded by Supervisor Ennis, on a unanimous vote. There are no other announcements.